You're watching Less Than Epic's coverage of the Overwatch League. Enjoy the show.
Hello everyone, my name is Kinky, and welcome to Less Than Epic's Power Rankings for Stage 4, Week 4 of the Overwatch League. This stage continues to become stranger and stranger the further we get into it. Dallas is suddenly on a roll, and London and Seoul are seemingly falling apart, and even New York lost a game this past week. It seems the addition to Brigitte has really turned this league inside out, and we have no idea what could happen next. Let's take a look at what that means for this week's rankings. In at number 12 are the Shanghai Dragons. The Dragons are one of a few teams that don't seem to be heavily affected by the meta change. And by that, I mean they're still losing all their games. That's unchanged, right? The Dragons do have a matchup this week against Florida, so there is a small glimmer of hope for a win. They also have a game against Boston. It's weird to think it, but the way Boston has been playing this stage, maybe Shanghai can pull out a win there as well. Again at number 11 are the Florida Mayhem. This is the second team this stage that is still looking for a win. Fortunately for Florida, they play Shanghai this week. Then, unfortunately, they take on the suddenly hot Dallas Fuel. Florida will likely go 1-1 this week. Still better than the 0-2s that they've pulled 3 weeks straight. Dropping all the way down to number 10 are the Boston Uprising. I'm as surprised as all of you, but Boston simply has not been performing, and some of the games have just been embarrassing. Boston still holds on to the number 4 seed in the playoffs, but with the way they're currently playing, they will likely drop out of the playoffs altogether, which I wouldn't be upset about. It could give another team that really deserves it a chance in the playoffs. In at number 9 are the Houston Outlaws. Houston did win both games this week, but it was against the likes of Shanghai and Florida. With those 2 wins, Houston kept their playoff dreams alive as they're only 1 game out of the number 5 and number 6 seeds. However, they will need to come up big again this week as they take on the Fuel and the Valiant. Dropping down 1 spot to number 8 are the Seoul Dynasty. Again, we know what you're thinking. How did Seoul drop when they won both their games? Well, that's because they beat the Dragons and Mayhem, but the Mayhem game was almost a loss. Their shaky performance in that game slightly pushed them down in our eyes and landed them at number 8. Our number 7 team are the London Spitfire. Again, another team where it's been almost strange to see how a team with so much skill on their roster can go from potential champions to mid-tier teams. The main reason for London's falling this week is because of the loss to Dallas. They also gave up a draw on a map to Boston and lost a map to Boston as well. Neither of those are good signs of things to come if they want to make it in the playoffs. Our only tie this week starts off with the Dallas Fuel at number 5. Dallas seems to have found the meta they belong in, and they are playing phenomenally right now. They may have finally found the proper composition of players and who to play in it. Dallas looks like a completely different team right now, especially when they have Seagull in the lineup. Every time they get a new player, we see them bench Seagull in favor of that player. At first it works, but after a few weeks, Dallas goes back to losing. Stick with what works, Dallas. Play Seagull. Our second team at number 5 are the San Francisco Shock. It's amazing to see how a meta change can see 2 teams that have been hovering around the bottom half of the league suddenly jump to the top 6. While San Francisco may be one of those teams that is just a mid-tier team and will never be able to compete with the likes of New York, it's still good to see teams evolve over the course of a season, even if it's because of a new hero. Keeping their number 4 spot are the Philadelphia Fusion. Some may argue that Dallas deserves this spot over Philly, and I wouldn't argue with that. Dallas brought it to Philly 2 weeks ago. But looking at the whole body of work, Philly feels like the safer bet right now. By the end of the stage, that may be completely different. Philly has 4 more games to prove that they own this spot, which they desperately need to do in my eyes. Despite being so high on this list, they're still looking from the outside in for the playoff race. Holding on to the number 3 slot are the LA Gladiators. The Gladiators tried their mightiest against the LA rival Valiant, but they fell short. In response to the loss, they went on and put a hurting on the Fusion. The Gladiators have snuck into the playoffs with the number 6 seed, but need to be careful not to lose it. They play London and New York this week, so anything could still happen. Continuing the trend, the LA Valiant keep the number 2 spot. I personally think that the Valiant deserve the number 1 spot this week. Heading into week 3, there were only 3 undefeated teams for the stage: the Valiant, the Gladiators, and the Excelsior. The Valiant had to take on both the Gladiators and Excelsior, and they came away with wins in both games. What else do the Valiant have to do to become the number 1 seed? Maybe go 10-0? Barely holding on to their number 1 spot are the New York Excelsior. Without downplaying New York's success, they did lose a game this week to the Valiant. To be fair though, it could simply be because they're on cruise control right now, since they know they have the number 1 seed to the playoffs already. But I would have thought that New York would have liked to at least have one more go at the Valiant before they are likely facing off against them in the playoffs. So that's our list this week. It's a crazy list, right? I want to know what you guys think of where we placed everyone. Should the Valiant be number 1? Are the shock and fuel too high? What about Philly? Let me down in the comments. Take care everyone, and we'll see you in the next one.
If you like our coverage of the Overwatch League, let us know by liking and subscribing. And if you didn't, let us know why in the comments below. Maybe we can make it better. Thanks for watching, everyone.